31st of July, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua with Rashi, Mattos-Maasei.
Pasuk, I think we're up to Pasuk Tes.
V'im b'yom Shemoah Isha Yani Osa V'hefer Esh Nidra Asher Aleha Ve'esh Mivta Sifateha
Sifata. Sifasel, you're right. That's Miftah Sifasel. Yeah. Asher.
Asra Al Nafsha Vashem Yislach La.
Okay.
So, but on the day that her husband hears, he restrains her, and he shall nullify her vow upon her.
He shall, and he does. Okay. It means he will withhold her by, and I would translate as follows: he will withhold her and nullify her vow. And Rashi mentioned this before, that is how he withholds her from her vow, is by nullifying the vow.
That is upon her, or the utterance of her lips, by which she had prohibited something upon herself, then Hashem will forgive her. So Rashi says, Behefer es nidra yachol. One might be able to think,
Right.
Afilu lo hefer ha'av. Even if the father did not nullify it.
Right.
But Lomar, the Torah teaches, Bina ureha base aviha, in her youth, in her father's house, which implies kol she bin ureha, as long as she is in her youth. Bereshus aviha he, she is under the authority of her father.
Right. Means as long, that's what it means, that it doesn't actually have to be physically in the property of a father, right? As long
I can't hear you, Rabbi.
fully mature. Sorry? Oh, what's happened here?
I lost you for a few seconds. Can you repeat what you just said?
I bet you can hear me again now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, I don't know why my thing, 1 second. And I'm going to get my picture back on. I think it must have temporarily, for a moment, disconnected. Okay, again, what did I want to say? No, I just lost my train of thought. Yes, that as long as she is a Nara, for the mere fact that she is not yet of the age to be a Bogeres, a fully mature woman, then that in itself makes her under the jurisdiction of her father. Whereas if she's below the age of 12 and a half, by definition, she is still under the jurisdiction of her father. Okay? Now, if she's betrothed to a man at that time, she's under the jurisdiction of both of them. And therefore, both of them need to, both the father and the husband in tandem have to nullify her vow. Meaning, in order to nullify the vow, you have to have both of them nullifying the vow. They're not obliged to, right? But in order to achieve the nullification of a vow, you have to have both the father and the husband nullifying the vow. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay? As opposed to, as we're going to see, okay, let's continue now with Pasuk Yud. Rafal, would you like to read? Pasuk 10.
The Im B'Yom Shemor, right?
No, that was Pasuk 9. Pasuk
You
10.
did?
We just did. We did.
Oh, you're saying 10, not Tet. So it's Yud you wanted me to read?
Yud, yeah, Pasuk Yud.
Okay. The Neder Almana Grusha, and a vow of a widow or a divorced woman. Kol Ashe Asra. Okay, I'll read to the end. Al Nafsha Yakum Aleha. So the widow or the divorcee that she prohibited is because there's no father and there's no husband in the game, I guess. Is she's chayav? She has to stands upon her.
Yeah, literally stand will be valid. In other words, anything that she binds upon her soul, upon herself, Yokum Oleh will be valid upon her.
Okay. You want me to read the Rashi?
Please.
Kol asher asra al nafsha yakum aleha. So everything that she was prohibited was valid for her. Lefi she'ena lo b'rishut ha'av, because she's not under the control of her father. V'lo b'rishut ha'ba'al b'rishut. What do you want to say? Not permission. What's b'rishut?
Under the jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction. Okay. B'rishut. Savrim and Nadra. So b'rishut is, yes, the jurisdiction. Nor of her husband. U ve'almana min ha'nesu'in Katu, Midaber, and okay, so this the Almana, so the widow.
We're talking about
from Nisuyan.
Right.
So we're getting a quote. I'm sorry, what?
In other words, the verse is referring to Hakosu, scripture. The verse is referring to Midaber, is speaking about Almana min Nisuyan. And
Aval almana mean erusin, but in the case of the widow or the erusin,
let's call it betrothal, even though it's not really
the engaged girl, right? Engaged.
Right. The first stage of marriage, let's call it.
Right. Mate habaal, if the baal passes away, nitrokna reshut la'av. It sounds to me like you get swapped back to the father, but what's
nitrokna means she's emptied out, meaning there were two people who were, shall we say, had authority over her husband and her father, but neither the father had full authority nor the husband had full authority. They're working in tandem. But now at this stage where the husband dies, so now the husband's half of authority has now disappeared, and now she reverts to being under the father's authority.
Gotcha. Reverts, even better word. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure you're going to ask me the following question: what happens if the father dies?
Well, this is a case of the girl that's still, well, she's no longer under the auspices and authority of a father if the father dies.
Right. Even though she is not yet 12 and a half.
Oh, you're talking about a girl who's a minor.
Well, she's not. She's between 12 and 12 and a half. She's a
12,
now.
12 and a half, and she's living off the father's estate or whatever, even though she's married.
That's irrespective because it's dependent on age. But
Oh.
if a girl between 12 and 12 and a half who does not have a father, then she's like her own boss.
So she's emptied out from the husband too?
No, but what would be if she now is
She and the husband?
I have to double check on this, but if she is now betrothed to her husband, right? She's undergone the stage of Erusin, then the husband can nullify her vows by himself.
And she loses the other 50% of
the
authority of her father.
Right.
She doesn't take it on.
No, that's for sure not. No.
So now you raise the Rav.
She's just as if she was already Nisua. Just like when she, as we're going to see in the next pasuk in Yud Aleph, right? That if a woman makes an oath or vow when she's fully married to her husband, even if she's still the age between 12 and 12 and a half, she's still a Nara. But once she's fully married to her husband, she's undergone Nisuin, then she's entirely under the jurisdiction of her husband. And the husband is the only one who's going to be has the authority to nullify or validate her vows. The father's out the picture already, even if the father's alive.
This begs another question then. If a child is 8 years old and the father passes away, whether it's the Beitin or some epitropist or somebody will take care of her, that's one thing. If a girl is 12 to 12 and 6 months and her father passes away, I thought you said, oh, she's got her own responsibility now, she's a mature woman? Or no? She's
yes.
still. So then why isn't she complaining if my father passed away when I was alone and I made a neder? Unless somebody talks some sense into me, I'm keeping the neder, but I had some responsibility. As soon as my father passed away and I'm married, I lost that ability. She loses that.
1 second. Let's go real quick. You're comparing which two cases? Get very clear.
12 and a half who's not married, 12 and a half who is married. When she wasn't married, she became very mature when the father passed away, and she can now take responsibility.
I take a very simple case. She's already 12 and a half, right?
Yes.
Already
12 and 5 months. 12 and 5 months.
She's Baruch Hashem, her father's alive, everything fine. Girl is 12 and a half. She's about the age of 12 and a half.
No.
She makes a neder. She's her own boss.
Yes.
Nobody can. If she's not married, yes, then
she's responsible.
She's responsible.
I'm saying 12 and 3 months.
Gets married and then
yes. Husband. 12 and 3 months. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking about 12 and 3 months.
Yes.
You said at 12 and 3 months, if her father passes away and she was not married, she's considered an adult now, mature enough? No base team.
Therefore, if she's not married,
right?
She's not married.
Yep.
Then she's her own boss. Yes.
So that's why I was asking this wiggle room space, 12 to 12 and a half, 12 and 3 months. I'm going to stick with so I don't confuse you.
Right. Okay.
Myself. She is married. She has a 50-50 shot between a husband and father. Father passes away.
But it's only when in the halfway stage of marriage, not in fully married. Let's not get it mixed up.
If she was married, the father's out totally, even if she's 12 and 3 months?
Yes, if she's fully married, Nisuin, father's out of the picture.
So Erusin only. We're talking the halfway stage.
Right, yes.
Now, you would think she gets some maturity and says, I don't care what you say, dear husband, soon to be a complete Kiddushin, but at this point, I'm keeping the nader, and I don't want that woman in my house again. So help me. Or whatever she netters out on herself. She doesn't have that authority that she would have if she wasn't Erusin and her father passed away. She lost that all to the future husband. 12 and 3 months. father passes
More than
away.
3 months, there's no father, and she makes a neder
Neder.
under the jurisdiction of her husband. What's the din?
He says, I want to block it. Does she have any say, or did she lose
No,
that?
it's purely her husband's. There is a Beferisha Gemara, and I can't remember exactly what the Gemara says about it. But the Gemara says that it works both ways. Nisroikna Mesa Baal Nisroikna Reshus La'av, Mesa Av Nisroikna Reshus La'Baal, which means if there's only one of the two, either only the father or only the husband, in the stage of Erusin, only one of them is existing, the other one has passed away, then the one who's existing has full authority over.
Well, that makes sense with with the father alive and the future husband passing away. That makes sense because that's what she would normally be as a 12-year-old.
She's reverting to what she was before.
Right. It's what's the chiddush here is if the father passes away and she's only at the Erusin stage.
Right. So as far as I know, that the husband has the sole rights, but I have to check that up again. For tomorrow, I'll for tomorrow. Okay.
It was worth waking up today and coming to your shift for that alone.
Okay. Good. By the way, where are you speaking from? You're in Eretz Yisrael?
It's a question. That's a suffix, but it's called Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph.
Oh, okay. You say that. That's okay.
We do keep one day of Yom Tov here.
Good. Okay.
I think Hebrew is the third language or something. I'm not sure.
Well, the first language is Yiddish.
No, that's in bed. You're right, though.
Okay. Let's go. Let's continue. So fine, very good. Next pasuk. Remember who we're up to now? Meir or Lu?
There.
Meir. Okay. Pasuk Yud Aleph.
Okay, Yud Aleph says, Ve'im Beit Isha Nidara O Asra Isar Al Nafsha Vishvua. Okay, so if in her husband's house, I guess.
Yeah, if she makes a vow,
She
no
makes a
Dora.
vow.
She makes a vow in her husband's house.
Okay. Or she prohibited herself, I guess, by an oath. B'shruah.
Right. She made or Osra Isal Nafsho. She made a prohibition upon herself, Bishvua, with an oath.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
So
this is actually a preamble to the next pasuk. But let's see Rashi here.
okay. So Rashi says V'im Beit Isha Nidara. Okay, so she made a vow. She vowed in her husband's house. B'nisu'ah akatu medaber. Okay. The pasuk speaks of nisu'ah. Okay, so nisu'ah is like the first stage of marriage, right?
No, the second stage.
Oh, the nisu'ah is the second. Erusin is okay. Okay. Very good.
Okay, so therefore that's why, and that's note the expression used in this by the Torah, in base isha nadar, means in the house of her husband, which means she's now living in his house. She's under she's fully married to him.
Okay.
Okay,
Right. Okay.
let's go on. Lou, pasuk Yud base.
V'shama Isha V'het.
Oh, you're very loud. If you could turn your volume slightly, it would be much more pleasant to hear you.
I'm too loud?
Yeah.
Never heard that complaint.
The
Perfect.
la lo hine. I'm sorry, Heini osa the kamu kol reha the whole isar asher asra al nafsha yakum. So, and her husband heard about it and was silent about her. He did not restrain her. Then all her vows shall stand, and the prohibition she prohibited upon herself shall stand.
Right.
No Rashi on that one. V'im fair, yafer, osam, isha, v'yom shamo, kol motza, sifaseha, lin dareha, ula isar, nafsha, lo yakum, isha hafe ram, bashem yislach la. But if her husband nullifies them on the day of his hearing, anything that came out of her mouth regarding her oaths or the prohibition upon herself shall not stand. Her husband has nullified them, and Hashem will forgive her. No Rashi on there. Kol neder, the whole.
Okay, so basically, I'm just let's summarize what the Torah is telling us, even though there's no Rashi here, is that when it comes to Nisua, okay, when she's fully married, then the husband has full jurisdiction over the wife's vows, even if she's over the age of 12 and a half, even if she's a Bogeres, okay? Once she's fully married to him, to the husband has control over her vows, okay, but it has to be, as the Pasuk Yud Gimel said just now, that the husband only has a possibility of nullifying his wife's vows on B'yom Shamoi, on the day he hears it, which means doesn't make a difference whether he heard it at 9 o'clock at night. Let's say we're talking about today's last night at 9 o'clock at night he heard about it, or he heard about it at 7 o'clock in the morning, or he's going to hear about it at 7 o'clock in the evening before sunset. He only has that day, meaning till sunset, to nullify his wife's vow. As it says, on the day that he heard it. So the day is that day, in other words, that Jewish day is the determining factor for the time when he can nullify the vow. So irrespective if he heard at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. That day is the day. Okay, it's not a 24-hour period. Okay? It has to be on that day.
So
Okay?
wait, Rob,
Yeah.
this is still the situation with the father and the husband involved, correct?
No.
No.
This is talking about where she is now fully married to her husband. By the way, I'm sorry. I would say yes and no. What I mean as follows. The din on the day, that day, where you have to nullify the vow, yes, also applies to the husband and the father when they nullify the vow in tandem when she's a Nara and she's betrothed. So then both the husband and the father together have to nullify the vow. Then there's obviously the proviso that they both have to do it on the day that they hear it.
Oh, the day, because my question was, assuming it's a normal
Let's say you're asking if the father heard it on one day, and then the next day she got married or whatever, and then the husband heard about it.
No. the daughter lives with the father, we'll assume, because she's not living with the man yet, right?
Right.
She's under the authority of the father, but she's engaged in Nisuin Eruvin with this man, right?
Right. Erusin, yes.
Okay, so assuming they live maybe a town away from each other, not that far, good old days.
Okay.
He hears it at 3 PM. He needs his fastest horse to get over to this man's house and say, you won't be my daughter, what she said. I need you to nullify, and spin around 3 times. But he's got to get there before sundown, or no, it's when the future husband hears about it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. If they hear on 2 different days,
Oh,
right, that the father hears on one day and the husband hears about it the next day, let's say.
so it's totally not nullified till both are hammered. It's not
No,
retroactive.
Just 1 second. I'm just going to check up the Gemara. By the way, when I finish what I'm saying now, I want to make a correction what I said before, because I just looked up the Gemara here. But I gathered this din of, do they have to hear on the same day? Does mention it, but how it does on the same day. Just trying to find it over here. No, it's not here. I'll have to check it out.
But it's only nullified when it's nullified. It's not retroactive of the day the girl made it. Correct?
No. It's when it's determined when the husband and the father, if where applicable, hear it. That when they hear about it, not right. Irrespective of when. Let's say she made it the neder last week, but the husband didn't hear about it, or the father didn't hear about it till today. Today the clock starts ticking.
Gotcha. But they nullify it. It's not back to it never was a vow. For 3 days she had a vow.
No. That's what we mentioned this on I think already on Sunday. The whole idea is that when the father and the husband, when they nullify the vow, it's from this point on. It's nothing retrospective.
Right.
Whereas when a chacham, he dissolves, that's I use the term used, he dissolves a vow, means hatorah, means he literally means unties it, means he permits it. It means he says he can't just hack it up in the middle, as they say, chop it and then till now it was existent, and from now on not. That chacham cannot dissolve a vow in such a way. He has to take the vow and he say, listen to under what circumstances it was made, and he will tell, or similarly with a bezdin of 3 would also work on the same principle. He'll say to the man or the woman, if you had realized that this were the circumstances, and would you have made the neder in the first place? So if they say no, so he says, okay, we found a petach, we found an opening to say that you made your vow and without full knowledge of the circumstances that were existent at the time, and had you known about it, you would not have made it. Okay, we are thereby, for that reason, we are dissolving your vow. And then it works retrospectively.
Gotcha.
As if the vow never existed. Okay? Okay? Fine. It sounds so quiet. Okay.
Crystal clear.
So where were we up to? I've lost the place now.
Clarify a point, Rabbi.
What?
You said you wanted to go back and clarify something.
Yes. The halacha, yes, that thing. I mentioned before that if the father dies, Rashi mentioned the father dies, if the husband dies, then the father can nullify the vow. That's what Rashi says on Pasuk Yud. However, if it's the other way around, if the father dies, the husband cannot nullify the vow by himself if she's still only an arusa. But if she becomes a nesua, she becomes fully married, then anyway, like is the regular husband's din, that he can nullify his wife's vows by himself if they're fully married. So therefore, it doesn't make a difference. Mind you, there's another point which we will come across. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll get to it. No, Rashi doesn't speak about it over here. There's what happens. Is it? Yeah, we in Pasuk Zayin. Pasuk Zayin says, "V'im hoyasi elish," if she becomes betrothed to a man, undoreho oleho. Okay, and her vows are upon her. Meaning she had vows from before. The Rashi mentions over there, "Shenodra b'beis avia, v'lo shoma b'hen avia, v'lo hufnu v'lo hukmu." Means if a girl made a vow, she's between the age of 12, she's the age of 12 years and 3 months. Okay, and she made a vow, and her father didn't hear about it, and then she becomes betrothed to this husband, to this man. Then the husband and the father in tandem can nullify the vow, even though the vow was made not in the situation that she's under the jurisdiction of the husband. It was made before she was engaged, before she was betrothed. Okay? Nevertheless, the father and the husband together can nullify such vows which were made when she was only under jurisdiction of her father. However, that once she becomes fully married to her husband, she becomes a nesua, then the husband can, who's now nullifying the vow by himself, because the father's out the picture. Once she becomes a nesua, the father's out the picture. Then he can no longer nullify vows which he made prior to her becoming fully married to him.
Oh.
So those vows which the woman makes before she's fully married to her husband, and then then her husband marries her fully, and they have nisuin, the husband can no longer nullify the vows which his wife had made prior to the marriage. Okay, that's what we learn over there. Okay, another point. Is anything? Yes, but that's what I was saying to you, that the Mishnah says in Nedarim that if the father dies and she's still only betrothed to this man, she's only a rusa, then the husband cannot nullify the vows of his wife by himself. Not like I said before. Okay? That if the husband dies in this situation where she's in arusa and she's a nara hamarasa, she's a nara, so the father, she's still under the jurisdiction of her father, and she's only in arusa and she's also in the jurisdiction of her husband.